Yes, exactly. They're like, I know this surgery like the back of my hand. It's safer. And
Yeah.
to us, it's like, no, this is one surgery, in our life. And to you, it's safer because you've done so many. But to us, it's a gigantic risk.
Hello, and welcome to Healing Trauma Mamas. I'm your host, Midon Wingo. Thank you for joining us as we share in our stories and experiences of healing from childhood traumas and birth traumas. Listen as we discuss our struggles, our failures, our strengths, and our victories, and all those lessons we've learned along the way. Why, hello, Healing Trauma Mamas. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you've decided to join us today. Welcome. I hope you get to hear or you get as much out of this interview today that I've been really looking forward to. Our guest coming on the podcast today, she has such a rich experience as a woman and in her birth experiences that I think she's going to share some with us. And I know she has a wealth of information to share. And I really feel like her journey is just really going to help somebody out there listening. And so if you're that person, like really perk your ears up. And I encourage you to dive in to Xiomara's story. And I wanted to say, like, we have tried to get on here to record this podcast interview several times. And I was joking earlier today that maybe I need to start like planning. I know when births are going to happen because I'm going to plan Zamara's podcast interview. So yeah, so it is kind of funny. So we've had to reschedule a few times due to sweet babies coming into the world. We had one this morning, sunrise baby, and I tried to get a little bit of sleep, and so we can jump on here. But I really did not want to reschedule Zamara's podcast interview again because I just feel like her story needs to be shared, and that there's going to be so much to come from it. And so here we are, getting to share with you today. And I really want to welcome Zomara onto the podcast. Would you mind introducing yourself just a minute? Just tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Samara. I'm a mom to three kids. I have a beautiful husband. I'm a stay-at-home mom and also a homeschooling mom. But I also work and I take care of my mom while I also take care of my kids. So I'm always busy. Yeah.
Very busy mom.
Yeah.
Yes. Did
Yeah.
you mention how many children you have?
I have three. A
Yes.
15-year-old. One is about to be 8, and my littlest one, is about a year and a half.
Oh, yeah. It's so precious. Love it. You're just
Yeah.
such a sweet family.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to kind of dive in here just a minute. We know each other outside of, just hi and bye. So that's been neat for me to get to know you and your family. And I would love to kind of let's start back. You have a huge age gap between your first and your second
Mhm.
child. And I'm sure
Mhm.
a lot of life happened in between that time. But I know that you are a thinker. I know that you are a researcher. I know that you love to dive into things headfirst and really like find out all the information. So I love that about you. So let's start out as young Zomar. Like, what did you know? Like, think about just being a young woman. What did you know about whatever you want to talk about? But I'm thinking specifically, marriage and family and children, or birth itself. What was your thought process when you were a young teenager and then coming into your first child that you got to bring into the world? I'd love to hear some of your thoughts.
Yeah, so, I got pregnant around 18 or 19, and I had my daughter yeah, so I was 19, and I had her when I was 20, and her birth was actually pretty, it was smooth like, my pregnancy and my birth was pretty smooth, and it was very, I don't know how do you say, very typical. Um, I went to the doctor, I just did what he said, I, did all the normal stuff you do when you go to the doctor, pelvic exams, measurements, and, um ultrasounds and all of that stuff. And I worked, I was also working when I was pregnant with her, and I was also supposed to go to work when I went uh when I had my last checkup, and the doctor all of a sudden was like, "Well, you're 2 centimeters dilated. I'm gonna send you to the hospital." And I was like, "Okay."
Okay.
Like I was young, I didn't know anything. And I called my job and I was like, "Well, I'm about to go have a baby, so I can't come into work." And so he sent me to the doctor, he sent me to the hospital across the street. And that was probably around like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I had her at 1:54 in the morning. So they
Wow.
gave me all of the, regular IV antibiotics, Pitocin, but I had no idea, about any of that stuff. I didn't know that they were inducing me. Um, I think one of the nurses even, like, popped my waters while I was there.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, when I got there, the contractions, I think, had started to become more intense because of the Pitocin. And I was like, "Wow, this feels like my body is literally, like, being ripped open." And because of that, I was like, can I get the epidural?" So they gave me the epidural, I didn't have any issues with that. I laid down. I think I even, like, took a nap,
Yeah.
and by the time I knew it, it was, like, time to push. And I started to push, and I don't know what I don't know what I was like, what was going through my mind, but I was like, "I can't do this. It's too hard." And I think I had been probably pushing for like an hour. And she was like, "Well, sweetie, you're going to have like at least 3 hours of this before they even take you to even consider a C-section." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I think it was just like my mind,
Yeah.
um, I was holding myself back really. But she came out like an hour later maybe, no issues, no nothing. She was perfectly healthy. Um,
Did you have
and
any, support with you?
I had my mom, and,
Okay.
my mom just had me and my brother, but she had also had 1 or 2, she had a miscarriage, but she also had a stillbirth.
Mm,
And from talking to my mother, she was never able to hold her stillborn baby. So she
wow.
was like, I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. I didn't know anything about the baby. And so I was just like, wow, that was like that must have been like traumatic for her.
Sure.
So yeah. So I forgot where I was. What was I saying?
No, so had your mom told you about her experiences ahead of time? And so your mom is the only advocate you have coming with you to the hospital, but her previous
Yes.
experiences, I'm sure, are influencing the way in which she is supporting you and probably your
Right.
idea of what to expect when you come in.
Yeah. I was so young, and I knew that I loved like being pregnant and birth and all of that, but I didn't have any really like any education besides the birthing class that I went to. And that was also done by a doula in the area. And so I didn't really have much knowledge besides that class and from talking to my mother. My mother had given birth in the hospital just like I did for my first birth, and
Mhm.
so I didn't know anything different, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so when you went it was pushing time and you decided that you didn't really want to do it, but you really didn't have an
Mhm.
option.
Right.
So how did that go?
It went f I don't really remember a whole lot, besides the fact that, like you said, I didn't have an option. So I was like, "Well, gotta do it, like, I'm just gonna do it. So, I did, and by the time I knew it, she was like, "I can see the baby's head," and I was like, "Oh my god." She's like, "Do you wanna see?" And I was like, "Yeah." So she put the mirror down there, and I could see the baby's head, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were a young mama and
Yeah.
you had this household work that seemingly went really well for you. How did
Mhm.
the postpartum go?
The postpartum was rough, like,
Okay.
it was extremely rough. I think I had postpartum depression, like, severe postpartum depression. I didn't have even though I lived with my mother, I didn't really have any support besides her father, and he wasn't really any help. He was there, but he wasn't really there, like,
Mm,
at night, she would cry and cry and cry, and I was just so exhausted from sleep deprivation and not knowing why she was crying all the time, and one day I was having, like, really, really intense thoughts about harming her, and deep down, I was like, "That's not normal, that's not right," and I didn't know what to do about it, um, and this went on for probably 2 years, a good 2 years.
wow.
And I didn't
Did your
realize that
OB do any follow-up about that?
me I honestly don't I don't even know if I brought it up,
Right.
but I know
It's
they
a hard
have,
thing
like
to bring up.
yeah, and he was male. He was a male
Mm,
OB, and so, really, they probably were just like, "Oh, you're a new mom," you know? I don't remember being asked about it or being given, like, now they give you a questionnaire. I don't
right.
remember that either. Yeah. I mean, it was 15 years ago, so I could be wrong, but I don't remember being
Yeah.
asked about it at all. Yeah.
Well, and it's I think, standard they have right now is that they will go like then the Edinburgh scale and they will ask you specific questions. It's really interesting that when you read those questions, like
Mhm.
it's extremely easy for a mom to hear those questions and be like, if I said yes to any of these questions, they're going to think I'm crazy. So there's no
Oh,
way I'm
yeah.
going to say yes to any of these
Yes.
questions. So very easy
Mhm.
to pass that, to still have
Yeah.
severe postpartum depression, to still have intrusive thoughts and not
Yes.
get the appropriate care to be able to help you or even the information to know like, hey, this can be normal part of postpartum. So let's have a
Yes.
conversation about it and let's dive into it a little bit. Maybe see about getting you some more help, and just
Yeah.
information is power. And when you don't have any of that information, and you're left with your thoughts that, well, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but probably thoughts of this isn't right and something's wrong with me. Correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong, or if you want to add to that what you were thinking.
I had a lot of angry thoughts towards my daughter, like, I just wanna throw her against the wall because she won't be
Mm,
quiet, you know? And it's really traumatizing as a mom to think that about your own child.
yeah,
You don't wanna hurt them, and deep down, I knew it was wrong. Even though I live with my mom, I didn't say anything because I just felt very ashamed, and I was like, "This nobody else probably feels like this. This isn't normal," but also I thought I was alone at the same time, and I
hmm
didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't have a friend to tell about because I don't know, just my friends were very, very I don't know. Yeah, I just didn't have anyone to talk to. And so yeah, very intense, very felt very isolating, very alone, and just no support really. And as a first time mom, that's really, really hard.
hmm
Um, and as a single first time mom, it's even harder.
I'm sure.
So, yeah.
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 That again, that's so hard when you don't know, you don't have the information to know this
Mhm.
can be normal. This does happen to lots of women.
Mhm.
So you don't feel so isolated and you feel like, you don't feel like you're a unicorn and instead you feel like, oh, this is a normal thing and I can talk to somebody about this and I can get some help with it. That makes a
Yeah.
huge difference. So I'm so sorry that you didn't
Yeah.
have that during that time. How do you think all of that affected you as a mom?
It affected my relationship, with my daughter a lot because I think I was angry and I don't wanna say resentful, but maybe I resented the fact that I couldn't it was so traumatic for me that I still can't remember the first 2 years of her life.
Yeah.
Um, I think my brain just has blocked it out because, it was traumatic. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's very common as well because you're in
Yeah.
that fight, flight, or freeze that whole time and you're never
Yeah.
having your system regulated. And so your body is like shutting that stuff down for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is also like a saving grace for us. We don't
Yeah.
remember all those moments. We
Yeah.
don't remember those super rough, tough times. So
Right.
that's really good. Do you feel like
Yeah.
after you got out of those 2 years that you kinda had a changeover?
So, it's funny because I met my now husband when Joanna was about 2 and a half, and I think, he changed our lives, you know?
Mm.
I always say, "I don't remember anything before I met you," like,
Aw.
because he was so helpful and so validating in so many of my experiences even before he came along and made me feel like I wasn't so crazy, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a great partner makes such a difference.
yeah. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
realized that, I'm like, "Oh," like, her dad was there for her, but he wasn't necessarily there as a partner or support as her mother, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, again, still feeling very isolated and alone in that
yeah.
process. Yeah. So, the joys of finding a partner who is
Mhm,
gonna walk alongside you and all of that, that's
mhm.
awesome. What a
Yeah,
blessing. Yeah,
yeah.
so so you met this amazing man and you guys hit it off. He's obviously a great partner to you. So did that affect your mothering, do you feel like?
Uh, yes, it did. I feel like I was more present, and we did so I should probably say that I suffered from anxiety and depression a lot before and during our relationship, and so but I think having him there, helped me be a better mom and be more present with my kid, and so we did a lot of family things together. It wasn't just me and her, it was more like, "Hey, we're a family now, we can go do things and have fun together." And so my daughter tells me a lot of, "I miss that. I miss when it was like the 3 of us and we would go to the rodeo or go to the park or go get ice cream and stuff like that." So I think it definitely changed my relationship with my daughter. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. For sure.
That's great though. That's
Yeah.
great to get to have that changeover for you.
Yeah.
So years went by then and you're growing
Mhm.
as this mama. You started out pretty young, but you've got this sweet little
Yeah.
girl and this new partner, and you guys are growing in life. Um, do you feel like during that time because you said you had been struggling with anxiety um, and depression, do you feel like during that time that you were coming out of it and you were working through some things? And do you know where that stemmed from? Because it didn't all stem from the birth. Is that correct?
Um, yeah. I don't I don't really know. I was depressed through my teens and 20s, if I'm being completely honest. There were periods of like highs, but also periods of like really lows, and I think I was just depressed through
Yeah.
all of those years. Yeah.
Do you feel like that was due to, because a lot of times that stuff comes on in teenage years, and a lot of people will, you know, liken it to just, well, that's, process, teenage year process. There's so much, going on. But I think as a female in the teenage years, there's a lot of hormonal stuff going on as well. There's a lot of hormonal shift. There's a lot of regulation that is working on happening. And if that system is not regulating appropriately for you, that actually can cause a lot of those issues. Yes, we know traumatic experiences, life experiences, all those things, your home life, all of that can contribute as well. But we can't discredit how much those hormones come into play, and dysregulated hormones can really affect that. And especially if you don't know that you're dealing with a situation and it's been going on for years, and then you have a baby on top of it, and then it really escalates all of that. And then you come down off after those first two postpartum years. And then you might still be in this dysregulation with your hormones. Do you feel like that might have been some of what was going on with you?
Yes, actually, I love that you asked that because I actually found out that I have PCOS after I had my son. So, and it was probably even 2 years after that. Um, and I like, looking back, I was like, "Oh, this probably started when I was a teenager, and I had no
Hmm.
idea, and nobody ever told me." I wasn't educated much in anything really. I had to learn everything by myself or educate myself really. And so when I found out I had PCOS, I was like, wow, I have this like name for what I've been going through. And then I also had a diagnosis of ADHD. And so it was probably all of that combined. And the fact that, even as a teenager, I was bullied. And so I just carried all of that through my teens and my 20s
Hmm.
unknowingly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and just
So,
having information, just having a name for what's going on
yeah,
with you, and then something, because again, I know you are a researcher, something that you can
yes.
go and research, you can find information about, you can find
Mhm.
nutritional ways that you can help your body through all of that. But you didn't know, you didn't have the information, you didn't have even the wording probably to know what
Right.
was going on with your body, or that is was even abnormal, right? To think that, oh, well, maybe my body isn't functioning appropriately. Maybe there is something
Mhm.
we can do to help it. If you don't have that information, you don't have, like, you don't know that it's not normal. You don't know that, oh, maybe my body, especially when I've said this before, talking about when I used to be really, really sick, and before I was able to get healing from it, that you don't know how sick you are or terrible you feel until you don't feel terrible. So when
Yes,
you're in
exactly.
that, yeah, it's your normal. And so you
Yes,
think
yes.
that, oh, this is just how I feel. And you have no clue until you get to see some view of or experience some way in which you don't feel that way anymore. Then you're like, oh my goodness, I have felt terrible this whole time. My whole life
Yes.
I've had all these issues and I didn't even know it.
Exactly, exactly. Yes. I think the best I had ever felt was my pregnancy with Solomon.
Mm, that's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
which is
Well, you
crazy
had,
because I was 30 something. So, imagine just going through life, just depression, anxiety, hormonal issues, and that was my normal, and I didn't
mm,
know anything different until I found out I had PCOS, and I joined a program that taught me how to manage it and lose weight and be healthy, but also have a good relationship with food. I've never really had a bad relationship, I wouldn't say, with food, but I wasn't very healthy. And so, after learning all of that, I was pregnant with Solomon, and I was probably I wouldn't say my actually, probably I would. I would say it was my best pregnancy, because I felt the best, and,
Mm.
um, it was I don't know, I just love being pregnant, so all of my pregnancies were pretty great, but
Oh, that's
Solomon, I
great.
probably felt the best.
So that's awesome. I love that you felt so good. So that was your 3rd
Mhm.
pregnancy. So do you wanna go back to your 2nd pregnancy and tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, so, probably we had Christian, which is my 2nd, in 2018, March of 2018. And so, um, we were very excited because I had had a miscarriage before Christian, and that was really hard, because I was so excited and, uh, we were getting married, and I was gonna wait and announce it, uh, at our reception, and I ended up miscarrying the morning of our wedding. So,
Mm.
it was really, really hard for me to mourn the loss of my baby and be happy that I was marrying the love of my life. And so, having to deal with those emotions on the same day was really hard for me. So when Christian finally came along, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm pregnant again." So excited. And so that pregnancy, we also decided to get a midwife because I had done more research, and I was like, "I think I want to do a home birth. It will it will just it will just help with, I had read about hospital births and natural births and how it could cut down cesarean rates, and, um, so I was like, I wanna do this, I wanna give birth at home and with my husband and not have all these monitors hooked up to me. I wanna be able to move around, I wanna be able to eat and drink, and so we hired a midwife, and she was okay. She was alright. Um, and I didn't realize how okay she was until I met you, and I was like, "Oh, Midon is like 10 out of 10." So so
It's very
I
kind.
yes, I liked her, but I was really upset, by the time Christian Christian was about I was about, I wanna say 36 weeks, because she had told me that he was breech,
Mhm.
and she did not do breech home births, and she was going to be transferring me, and that was just, like, a hit in the gut because this whole pregnancy, she was like, "It'll be fine. He's gonna flip. Don't worry about it," and then I go to this appointment, and she's like, "Oh, he's breech. I'm I'm s switching you to a different provider." Um,
And you weren't in
but
labor yet?
no, I wasn't in labor yet. She didn't offer any support, like, no, "Hey, maybe he'll flip during labor," or maybe, nothing like that. She was just like, "This is what we have to do." And it was just that was it. Um, she did reach out to the OBGYN, and the OBGYN did do manual version is it
An
manual
ECV?
version?
Yeah, an external
Yes.
cephalic
Yeah,
version trying to flip
yes.
the baby.
Yes, so I was like, "Hey, that's cool. Let's try that." So I think she scheduled me at 37 weeks,
Okay.
and I went in, and she was like, "This is the best time to do it because they're big enough, but they're not too big." Um, and I went in. The whole thing was probably less than an hour, I would say, and he I think they gave me, the medication. She did the manual version, and he flipped, and they took me back to the room, And I was, like, so excited, I was so happy. Well, I was there, they wanted me to wait a while before they released me to make sure nothing like, his heart
Sure.
rate didn't drop or
Yeah.
anything like that. I felt this, like, really, I wouldn't say intense, but this, like, jerk in my belly, and I was like, "Wow, what was that?" I didn't say anything because I just thought, he had kicked me or something like that. And she was like, "Okay, well, um, if you don't go into labor, I think next week," or she said, "I'm gonna schedule you for next week. Um, we'll induce you, and if it doesn't work, I'll schedule you for a C-section or something." And I was like, "Okay." I just was like, "Okay." So we go to the hospital. I think it was about 5 a.m. because it was still dark outside. Um, she had instructed me not to eat anything, and I was like, "I'm not doing that. It's 5 a.m. I'm hungry." And so I think I ate something. Well, we get there and she's like, "He's still breech." And I was like, that must have been what I felt in the room. He flipped back and I just didn't know. So she goes, "We can try to flip him again, but if it doesn't work, you're going for a C-section." I was like really upset because I thought it worked. I thought I was going to give birth, vaginally. And so she goes to try and flip him. And by this time, he's like, "Nah, that's not happening. It's not working." So she was like, I'm not gonna try anymore. He's not gonna flip. And so at this point, she's like, "Did you eat anything? Did you drink anything?" And I was like, "Yes, I did." Boy, was she mad. She was really upset at me. And she was like, "Well, I asked you not to drink anything or eat anything because in case we needed to do a C-section, now we have to wait." So she
Mm.
also tried to tell me that he was too big, that now he was measuring 8 pounds, and I would not be able to, or I needed to give birth that day because he was too big. And so this is also why she needed to do the C-section. And I
Mm.
was like, "Okay." I didn't really believe her because my daughter was like 6 pounds. So I was like, I doubt he's gonna be any larger than she is. I wasn't eating super crazy. I think with Christian, there was a part of me that was, like, doing Whole30, so my diet wasn't horrible either. I didn't have gestational diabetes, and so I didn't really believe that he was 8 pounds. But because I had eaten, she made me wait. I can't remember how long she made me wait, but I had already been there for about 2 hours, so I think she made me wait a total of 6. So I had to wait 4 more hours for her to do the surgery. During this time, she was giving me IV fluids, and so 4 hours worth of IV fluids, can you guess where that goes?
Oh,
Straight to the
man.
baby. So,
Be
she
very
takes me
swollen.
back to the C-section. Yeah. Well, okay, so she takes me back to do the C-section, and the anesthesiologist is trying to do the epidural or the spinal block or whatever, and he can't do it. And I'm asking him to stop because I can feel the nerve that he's hitting in my leg. And he keeps trying and he keeps trying, and I'm sitting there crying, and I'm like, I'm alone. They don't let anybody go in there with you. And so I'm scared, I'm crying, I'm in pain. And finally, I think this was a student who was trying to do it. And so when he couldn't get it, the, I guess the head anesthesiologist went ahead and stepped in, and within, like, 2 tries, I think she got it. So finally, I'm we're doing the surgery and excuse me, and I give birth to Christian, and he's he's about 8 pounds. So, I give birth to Christian, he's 8 pounds, and I'm like, "Wow, he's right on the money." But when she pulled him out, he aspirated on blood, so he had to go straight to the NICU, and I was like, "Babe, you need to follow him. Go with him, I'll be fine. Follow him to the NICU." And over the next 3 days, I think, he was having, I think they had a little CPAP machine because of the aspiration,
Mhm.
and he had, uh, low blood sugar as well, and so it was just the visit was a mess because I was trying to breastfeed and they were pushing formula because of his low blood sugar,
Mhm.
and they were bringing him in and out of the room or no, they were coming in and out of the room asking if I wanted to breastfeed him, and I think I was sending milk down there, but when I was finally able to get up and go down there, they did let me breastfeed him, but because his blood sugar wasn't coming up, they asked me if I wanted to do formula, and I was like, "You know what? This is this um, I don't know how to say it. Doesn't really impact my breastfeeding journey. This is like one bottle of formula, and it's gonna help us get out of here." So, I discussed it with Adrian, and we were like, "Sure, just go ahead and give him the formula if we can get out of here." So, they gave him the formula, they released us, and we went home, and I continued to breastfeed him for 4 years. So
Awesome.
so
Good. That's
the
great.
one bottle of formula didn't really mess with my journey at
Good.
all.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad. I'm curious, um, if we can go back just a little bit. So,
Yeah.
your midwife that you had
Um,
said she wasn't comfortable with breech or she didn't have breech training, and so that's why she was transferring you to the OB, and then
mhm.
the OB tried to flip successfully, and then baby flipped back. Did the OB ever discuss a possible breech delivery?
No,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
no options whatsoever.
It's such a lack of education and just so OBGYNs are supposed to be the specialist, right, in
Mhm.
delivery and all things obstetrics. But they're trained so they're really well trained in
In
surgical
surgery.
delivery, but they're
Yes,
not trained at all in vaginal breech delivery. And vaginal breech
exactly.
delivery, I mean, if left alone, there's about 3 to 5% of babies that would be born breech naturally. Like, that's
Mhm.
a pretty big percentage of clients that you're not or patients that you're not paying attention to that you could
Right.
still help to have a vaginal delivery. But because a C-section is so much more calculated and there's so much training that they have on C-section, and they do it over and over and over, to them, to the OBs, like, that's a much easier and much, in their head, less risky,
Yes, it's
situation because they don't have the
yes.
training on the other.
Yes, exactly. They're like, I know this surgery like the back of my hand. It's safer." And
Yeah.
to us, it's like, "No, this is one surgery, in our life, and to you, it's safer because 'cause you've done so many. But to us, it's a gigantic risk." So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and for
I agree.
you, at that moment, that was 50% of your deliveries. So it's a
Exactly.
much bigger deal for you than who knows how many that he did just in that day or that week.
Exactly.
And then those risks, yes, there's risks of vaginal breech delivery, but there's also major risks to a cesarean section. And I know we can get into that more on your next delivery, but on this one, thankfully, your recovery was it pretty good from the C-section?
I'm trying to remember. Yes, it was. It was
Good.
very easy. I didn't have any complications. I don't think it was complications from the surgery, but I ended up contracting the flu
Mm.
within the first week or 2 of having Christian. So, when I was not feeling well the first week or 2, I just remember thinking, "I don't remember motherhood being this hard." And when I went to my checkup, I told the doctor I wasn't feeling well, and she was like, let's check your temperature, let's check your vitals." And I ended up having the flu.
Oh, darn.
So, yeah, so in order, I think, to, um I actually don't know why she did this, but she admitted me to the hospital for 2 days,
Okay.
and Christian got to stay with me, and she was like, "There's no contraindication for you breastfeeding, just keep breastfeeding as normal." And, I think I asked her, "Can I bring him with me because I'm breastfeeding him, and I think it will help with his, immune system?" And she was like, "Yeah, for sure, you can definitely he can stay in the room with you." So, um, during that time, I breastfed him while I was admitted to the hospital.
Good.
It wasn't with the C-section, I just ended up contracting the flu
So how did
during
you do so that's a lot postpartum. So first he was in the NICU. How long was he in the NICU?
he was in the NICU for probably about 3 days.
Oh, thankfully, that's not like, oh, a couple weeks, but it's still a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
3 days in the NICU, and then you come home, and then you get the flu and have to go back to the hospital. So, but thankfully, you're breastfeeding well, and that's still going well for you at this point in time. How do you feel like your postpartum journey was different?
Um, so Adrian took, I wanna say, probably a week off, and I probably ended up crying to him because I was terrified I was going to have the exact same postpartum depression that I had with my first. And he reassured me and made sure that whatever I needed, I could call him and he would just come running. He was like, "You're gonna be okay. Like, you're not alone this time. I'm here. I will be here. Just call me if I need to come home." And my parents were also living with me at that time. And this time I actually made sure to ask my mom for help when I needed help. And
Good job.
she would make me lunch. She would let me sleep in and she would take the baby. And um, it was very, very different. And it was very positive. Yeah.
Good. I'm so
Yeah.
glad for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm sure
Yeah.
that was such a tremendous relief to you to be able to have that and not have to
Yes.
struggle.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, I didn't know postpartum could be this great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
different
you
when
get
you
this
have support.
so different.
Hmm.
So different. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
had not only the support of your husband, but you knew how to speak up for yourself and get more support from your mom as well. That's
Yeah. I
beautiful.
was like, I have to say something if I need help because if not, I'm just going to end up in the same dark hole. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to be that way. Yeah.
Good job. Good
Yeah.
job. How do you think that affected you as a mother this time?
Um, I think it went really well. I really started to like find my voice and realize if we don't speak up for ourselves, no one else is going to do it for us. And you have to ask for help because not everybody is comfortable just lending the help or just, "Hey, I'm here if you need me, let me know." So you have to use your voice because we're the only ones who can speak up for ourselves.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
Use your voice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you've kind of alluded already to a little bit to your next pregnancy and talking about how when at this point in time when did you find out you had PCOS?
I think, my second was, like I think this was around 2020 or 20 2019. It was during COVID. So 2019, 2020, because I was in the middle of, it had been probably a couple weeks already, and I was having very, very heavy bleeding, and it was, like, soaking through menstrual pads. And I was like, "What is going on?" And I also didn't feel well. Um, and at I can't remember if this doctor that I saw was before or after. I think it was before. I think I had seen one doctor, and he was like, "Oh, you need a DNC. Like, that's really your only option um, to fix the issue." And he he's actually a very prominent doctor in Austin, and, his bedside manner wasn't that great, and so I was like he didn't really give me much information, and so I was like, "Well, I'm not just gonna take his advice." So I found a different doctor, and she was like, "Do you by chance have PCOS?" And I was like, "I don't know, what is that?" And so she told me all of the symptoms, and I was like, "Yeah, that actually sounds like me." And she was very helpful, and she was like, "I do think that a DNC is your only option to reset." She said that she tried to explain it to me as, "Your periods were have been so irregular that they stop and they go and they stop and go, and so there's just all of this lining just stuck in there, and we have to clear it all out in order for you to reset um, the lining growth." And when she said that, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." You know? The other doctor didn't say anything like that, and so I didn't understand why I needed this procedure. And so I got the procedure done, um, and, Adrian took me. It was I think it was I was in and out in, like, a day, and it was super easy. I didn't have, like, any crazy side effects. I think I had some mild cramping, and that was it. And I still wasn't feeling well, and probably a week or so goes by, and I end up at the doctor, and I was like, "I don't feel well." Like, my when I was moving apartments, Adrian and I did it all by ourselves, like, no movers or no anything, and we had to move, like, a three-bedroom two-bedroom apartment into a three-bedroom apartment, and we did it all by ourselves. And I remember my legs feeling like they were on fire, and that didn't feel normal to me. And so I was also short of breath, which I was like, "That could be my asthma," but that also didn't seem right. So when I finally went to the doctor, he did blood work, and he called me and he was like, "I need to admit you to the ER because your iron is so low, you need a blood
Mm.
transfusion." And I
Oh,
was like,
man.
I was stunned because I didn't realize that all of the blood I was losing had led to me becoming so anemic I needed a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
And so I had the blood transfusion, and it was like day and night. I felt so much better. There was no shortness of breath, no legs on fire, no anything. And so this is like a major part of PCOS, like irregular periods. Like, I had no idea this was a possibility until it actually happened to me. So, yeah.
Well, now you know. So then I'm sure because you're a researcher, you went down the rabbit hole about
Mm.
what is PCOS exactly? What can I do about it? How can I help with
Yes.
it? All of those things.
Yeah. So by the time Adrian and I decided to have another baby, and I think it was probably about 3 2 or 3 months of trying, and I was like, "I'm not pregnant yet, and I don't understand why." So that's when I really started to, like, deep dive, and I asked around about, um, PCOS, and somebody recommended, the women's dietitian and, her page on Instagram, and so I went and looked at her page and realized that she had a program, and it was for women with PCOS, and she also had PCOS, so she understood the what it was like to have PCOS. She understood the disorder, from a personal level, and so she decided to turn this into something to help other women that were just like her. And so the program was all about controlling your PCOS through food, but not depriving yourself of the things you also want to eat. And it focused on healthy eating, healthy exercise, and basically just moving your body in a way that felt really good to you. And so I did her program, Get Pregnant with PCOS, and I say it worked probably about 90%, and I needed help the other 10%. So I started looking into Chinese medicine or traditional Chinese medicine. And I realized that in traditional Chinese medicine, PCOS is considered um I don't know if I can remember the name. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Do you mind if I look it up really quick?
I don't mind. Go for it. Look it up.
Once.
A lot of I'll say a lot of, information you can find about PCOS is working on supplementation and diet. Like, that can make such a huge difference,
Yeah.
and I know being high in protein, helping regulate your blood sugars, all of
Yes.
that is a huge factor in PCOS, and most people are like you, where they didn't know that's what they had, and then once somebody finally talks to them about it, and they start going over the list of symptoms, they're like, "Oh my goodness, how long have I had this? Because this explains so many of my symptoms for so long." So it's really a wake up to realizing like, "Oh, this is something that I've been dealing with. This is something that I can help though.
Yes.
I can work with my body, help give it everything that it's needing to help it function better and for you to feel better."
Yes. Exactly. And when I did her program, I was like, I wasn't falling asleep at the wheel because I would fall asleep when I would drive. Like I would get drowsy or I would I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I would drive and it's like I would like zone out and then come back and I would be like, how did I get from here to there?
Mhm.
And it that never happened while I was doing the program and, working on my diet and exercise. So, it really, really, like, put into perspective, like, what you eat really matters. So,
Yeah.
okay, so I found it. So, in traditional Chinese medicine, PCOS is considered a wet or damp uterus. Um, and they do this with they they help you move that wetness through with herbs and medicine. And I watched a couple videos and I was like, I wonder if I could find these teas um online. And so I researched and I found which one is it? Wisdom of the Womb fertility teas.
Nice.
And I probably took those for a week, and I all of a
Wow.
sudden was pregnant. So,
That's
I think
amazing.
those 2 together, along with my research, obviously, helped me get pregnant with my last child.
That's
And
great.
yeah, and then you were like, "I have these," when you came along with your, pregnancy tea, I was like, "Oh, yes, I wanna take that because I know how powerful herbs are." So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Well, and so that information and that knowledge that you gained about your body and helping it work better and just function in the way that is really good for you. How do
mhm.
you think that helped in your? You said you felt the best in this pregnancy.
Yes, so I was moving my body before I was pregnant. I lost 30 pounds. I was, focusing on my diet, high protein, lots of veggies, low carbs, and carbs, when you have PCOS, that's your weakness. That's my weakness. So I was eating a lot of tortillas. I'm Mexican, so tortillas, rice, beans, all of that. So I had to really focus my attention on more protein, good fats, and, more vegetables, and
Mm,
moving my body, the right dietary changes, the teas all put my body in an optimum level to get pregnant and have a really healthy pregnancy. Because, I was really concerned also about gestational diabetes. And so because my mom has diabetes, and I was like, I don't want that because, uh, I don't wanna end up having gestational diabetes and then it never go away, and then I have to live with this condition for the rest of my life. So I really, really focused on diet changes, and, uh, it was really hard for me to get up and walk during my pregnancy. I think I told you that a lot because I'm not a morning person, but it was the coolest in the morning because I was pregnant during the summer.
in West Texas. So,
Yes, exactly.
yes,
So, I was like, "I don't wanna do this, but I have to. I have to get up and I have to move my body." And, um, I did it for me, I did it for the baby. So,
you did a great job.
yeah, yeah. I worked really
So,
hard.
yeah, you did. You worked
Yeah.
so hard on everything for that pregnancy. So, do you wanna talk a little bit about that? So, you decided to go for a VBAC, you decided to go with a midwife again. Do you wanna talk about
Yes,
that process a little bit?
yes. Yeah, so I reached out, uh, in this natural moms group, and there was a midwife recommended, and I called her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not available." There was another midwife that she recommended, she wasn't available, then she recommended you, and I think I had also maybe seen your flyer at the library as well,
I forgot you
and
told me about that.
yeah, I saw your and I was like, "Oh, hey." So, I ended up reaching out to you, and, we had an interview, and I was like, "You know what? I love her." Me and Adrian talked to like, not even Adrian was just like, "Whatever you wanna do is this is your pregnancy, this is whatever you wanna do, we can do." So, I think I hired you, like, on the spot, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so too.
Yeah. I think I did. I think I hired you, like, right on the spot. I was like, "I love you, yeah." So, we hired you, and, I was like, I wanna do this." And I think I had told you that my 2nd pregnancy was a breech pregnancy, and I brought it up, and I had asked you about what your I guess, your policies were or what your thoughts were on if I did end up having a breech baby. And to my surprise, you were like, "Yeah, I have some breech training, and if that happens to be the case, then we can talk about it, we can work through it." But you were very sure to tell me, um, I don't remember how you put it. It is not home birth by all means, it's home birth if it's safe for me. and I think that's what you told me." And I was like, "Okay, like, I like that." Um, and so that was one of my major worries with my last baby, and it ended up happening, and it was pretty early on that we found out he was breech. It was pretty early, and as soon as I we figured it out, I was like, "Alright, I gotta get to work. I gotta do all the maneuvers, I gotta walk, I gotta do spinning babies," and I worked on it a lot. I I did the I did the the inversion
Mhm.
and did that probably I don't remember how often I did it, but I mean, it was like 5 minutes at a time, I think. It wasn't supposed to be for that long, and I did a lot of spinning babies, positions, and I thought I did enough, and I guess I didn't, or he just did not wanna flip because he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, some babies just
Yeah,
need to come breech, and that's the way that they are fitting through well, and that's they're smart, and
yeah,
their job is to try to navigate and get in the best position possible for them. And so sometimes we have no clue why that they keep
mhm,
being in persistent um, position. And it was for him, it wasn't that he couldn't flip, because I think a couple of times we're like, "Oh, look, he's head down. That's great." And then he'd
yeah,
go right back to breech.
mhm.
So it wasn't that he couldn't do it, but it is the position that he kept
He
switching
preferred,
himself
yeah,
to. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, do you want to share about that and how that ended up going?
Yeah, so I think I had suffered a lot in pregnancy with insomnia. I think that's just one of the things I deal with in my life is insomnia, and, uh, magnesium was working really well for me sometimes, and some others it just didn't, and I think it also has to do with ADHD and my brain not being able to shut off and go to sleep.
Mhm.
So, both of those combined were it just didn't help, and so, I think I think I was trying to find the optimal, I was trying to how do I say this? I was trying to get my hips in the correct position for giving birth. And so towards the end of my pregnancy, I started looking up exercises and positions for that. And I was doing the spinning babies, the side lying position, where the leg hangs over the bed or,
Sure.
things like that. And somebody suggested the Miles circuit. And so I looked it up on YouTube. I watched a couple of YouTube videos and I was like, "Oh, this doesn't seem hard at all. Like I can do this." And I fell asleep doing the side lying position. And I think that night I had gone to sleep around 12, around midnight. So it was late. And I had fell asleep and I woke up and I felt the need to switch sides. So I ended up switching sides and probably 2 or 3 minutes later, I felt this like snap of a rubber band in my belly. And it kind of like stunned me. I was like, "What was that?" And I kind of said to myself, if that is my water breaking, if I stand up, it's going to go whoosh. So I stood up and just like straight out of a movie, it splatters all over the floor. And I'm like, "Oh, it's baby time." And I was like, "Babe." And he goes, jumps up out of bed and he's like, "Baby's coming." And he was like dead asleep. I didn't think he heard it at all. And I was like, "Yeah, baby's coming." I was like, "We need to let Midon know that my water broke." And so by this time, I think it was like 3:20, 3:30 in the morning. So I had only had 3 hours of sleep. And So I was probably already tired, and but I was like, "Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for the baby. I'm ready for him to be here." I was so excited to give birth to him that the 3 hours didn't even matter to me. It didn't matter. So I told you about it, and you had sent me the link to start timing my contractions, and I got in the shower. They weren't too intense at all at first, and they started getting a little more intense, um, and I think that's when you decided to come my way, and, uh, you asked me to, like, keep updating you, and then at some point you were like, "Okay, like, you're good, you don't have to update me anymore." So, I think it took you probably about an hour, maybe 2 hours? An hour and a half maybe to get here?
About
It
an hour
wasn't
and
that long.
15.
Yeah, it wasn't that long, I don't think. And we moved you guys set up the birth pool. I moved from the shower to the birthing pool, and boy, I was doing amazing. I was peaceful. I think I almost fell asleep at one point. I was so
Mhm.
relaxed in that pool, and I was like, "Wow, I can't believe this is going so well," you know? And I had done the birth course that you had sent me. And so I thought I was rocking it because I had done that birth course. I was like, "I must have learned a lot. I'm rocking this." And about, I wanna say 9 o'clock, my son woke up, and he came in, and he wanted to help. He wanted to be there for his mama. And so he started pouring the water over my back, and he was just being quiet, and you guys were over there, and y'all were letting us do our thing, and everything was good. And then he saw meconium in the pool.
Mhm.
He was like, "What's that?" That's when you guys were like, "Oh, hey, I think baby's breech, and do you wanna get out so that I could check you?" And
And
I
you
feel
knew
like
that was gonna be a possibility. Like, we
yeah,
had so many conversations about,
yeah,
like, yeah, he has been breech a lot. He has flipped head
yeah,
down several times, but he's also been breech a lot. And the very last
yeah.
appointment, I think he'd been head down. And so
Yes,
we didn't
yes,
know where he was gonna
yeah,
be when you went into labor.
yeah. So, he ended up I think you had asked me, "Do you wanna get out so I can check?" And you were like, "You don't have to. I just think it may be a good idea. That way we know." And I feel like I feel like I wanted to say no, but I didn't. And ultimately, I think I was scared, and that ended up halting my birth experience. I I wrote this quote down because this is what I thought of earlier. Let me read it. Um, I wrote down, let me see. Because I had done the birth course, the faith-filled birth course. I think her name was Tara Menzies,
Mhm.
and I loved it. It was amazing. I loved her course, and I was like, "Yes, I'm gonna print these affirmations, I'm gonna put them on the wall, I'm gonna read them, I'm gonna say them to myself." We had the music going, and everything was great, and then when we figured out he was breech, I don't know why I was so scared. I think I let here it is. The fear in failing I had for myself was much stronger than the faith I had in God to bring me through. And I think that's really what it was. I was so afraid of failing that I basically failed myself, I guess, that I just let it consume me. And honestly, I think that's what stalled my birth experience from having a home birth. and I should have just had more faith in myself, more faith in God, and I would have been okay. I think I stalled, and because I stalled myself, the contractions just got way too much for me to handle, and ultimately, that's why I decided to transfer to the hospital because I couldn't bring my mind back down. Adrian couldn't bring my mind back down, and I was just kind of maybe spiraling at that point. I was just like, "I can't do this," and I had already made up my mind, like, I couldn't do it, right? Like,
Mm.
I'm doing this yoga course right now, and it's you can literally whatever you're focusing on is the energy that you're going to bring into your life, and
Yep.
because I was consumed with fear, I was bringing that into the birth space, and I ended up having to transfer as a result. I didn't have enough faith in myself. I was so fearful, and I think that was a really, really big lesson for me, is that I didn't have faith in myself. Even though I did all the work, I did the birth course, I was moving my body, I was trying to eat healthy and have the best birth I could. I was
And you
still
had
afraid,
researched
like
and you had
I
researched
researched.
and listened to so much about breech, and you knew all the information. Like,
Yeah,
you knew it all. Like, like you didn't have before you were in labor, you're like, "Yeah, this is fine. I've really been, like, it's gonna be okay however he comes." But when you're in the moment, sometimes that stuff, like you said, can kinda spiral. And as we know, your body has got to be at a state of ease in order to be able to
yes,
dilate and continue the labor the way it needs
right,
to. It's got to be able to. And when you are have that fight, flight, or freeze, that fear
yes,
is coming in, that's tension, and the tension causes pain. Is that fear, tension, pain cycle. And when you
yes.
can't let go of that fear, then you're still gonna
Your
keep that
baby's
tension
like,
and
"I don't feel."
mm,
Yeah, your baby and your body's like, "I don't feel safe enough to birth this baby. I don't feel safe enough to open, to have this baby." And I ultimately held myself back because I was so afraid, and I don't even know what I was afraid of because our bodies naturally know what to do,
yep,
like, I was breathing, I was doing all the things with the affirmations and the music, and I was calm, and then all of a sudden I got scared and I spiraled. So, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I love this conversation, even just talking about it. Like, this is to help. I think it's helped. We talk about birth processing a lot. I know you've
Mhm.
heard me talk a lot about it and everyone,
Yeah,
but going back and going over a birth is not to find fault and blame. It's not to do that at all. And it's not to highlight that's the spot where I messed up or that's the spot. It's not for any
yeah,
of that. But it is for learning purposes and to maybe help
yeah.
understand yourself a little bit better and understand our bodies a little bit better. And so you definitely learned a whole lot about yourself and about your body through that birth. And that even though you
Mm,
had all this knowledge, this head knowledge information, putting it into practice was different.
mhm, mhm.
It was very different. And
Yes.
that fear, as much as you were trying to have this faith in your body and the way it was designed to work and really dig into that, this fear component kept coming in and it kept winning. And you make a decision in the moment based on the best thing
Mhm.
for you
Yeah,
in the moment.
yeah,
And in that moment for you, that was you decided to transfer to the hospital.
yeah.
And that was with the knowledge that you knew, as we talked about earlier, OBGYNs are not going to, at least none in our area that I'm aware of,
You're right.
have not only a vaginal breech delivery, but a vaginal breech delivery after a C section.
Right,
So
right. It
a
was
lot of different
yeah,
components there.
yeah,
Yeah. So you decided to transfer to the hospital
yeah,
and you did. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
yeah. So we were transferring, and it's weird because as soon as I decided to transfer, the contractions became less intense. It was like, now I'm not afraid, and my body just relaxed, which is absolutely crazy, and it really shows you that your mind really is that powerful. And
Mhm.
so, I ended up transferring. We got there, and it wasn't it wasn't very busy at all, so much so that there was, like, 10 nurses in the room when I was there, and we were like, "Wow, I feel like a celebrity in here." It was crazy. And, I think I had requested to speak to the anesthesiologist because I think I wanted a spinal block, which I thought was different than an epidural because based on my experience with the last anesthesiologist and epidural, I wanted to make sure it was gonna go smoother. He came in and he was like, "Yep, we got it, like, no problem, it's gonna go just fine." And so he put me at ease. I thought it was gonna be fine, and in fact, it was not. It was even more traumatic than the second time. I went they put me in the room, and they told me to sit on the edge of the bed, and he started trying to do I don't know if it was an epidural and a spinal block together or what, but he tried more than 6 times, I wanna say, and I was crying. I was literally begging him to stop, and I had asked him multiple times to put me to sleep because he was hurting me, and I even asked the nurses, and they were asking the doctor, "She wants to stop. She wants to know if you can just put her to sleep." And even that didn't work. He was like, "Let me just try it again. Let me just try it, 1 or 2 more times." He would open a new kit, try it again, and it would fail. And I was feeling the pain in my shooting pain in my legs again, because they're hitting nerves back there, they're in your spinal cord. And so finally he was like, "Fine, we'll put you to sleep." And I felt so much relief. He finally put me to sleep. And the next thing I remember was waking up and them rolling me out into the recovery area. And I I w I was just like, "Thank you so much for putting me to sleep. I'm so sorry." Like, I felt like I was a burden for asking for what I needed, which none of us should feel that way.
Mhm.
And and I think it might have been the next day or the day after when I started to get this really bad headache that wouldn't go away, and I asked the nurse about this headache. And she had asked me a couple questions, and she was like, she lowered my bed and she was like, "Does it feel better or does it disappear when when you lay all the way down?" And she laid me flat. And I was like, "Wow, like it's gone." And she was like, "Okay, I'll be right back." Well, she came back and she was like, "Yeah, you have a spinal headache." I didn't know what that was. So I looked it up and I was like, this man, anesthesiologist, tried so many times that there is now a spinal leak in it's leaking spinal fluid, and that's why I have this headache. So I went home and I tried to deal with it. And by the time his his appointment came, I think I had brought it up to you even when
Mhm.
you came. I think the 24 hours, the 24-hour mark, and you were like, maybe you should, reach out to the OBGYN. And so I did, and I was in so much pain. I couldn't move my neck. I couldn't move my head without being in just excruciating pain. I had never felt pain like that in my life. And the only option that the OB-GYN gave me was the exact same procedure that put me in this position in the first place by the same exact man who had done it in the first place. And I was like, No, I don't want to do that." And he explained to me that the blood patch would be quick, it would fix it, and I wouldn't be in pain anymore. And he left the room and he was like, "I'll let you discuss it with your husband and I'll come back." And my poor husband felt so bad for me. I was literally crying in the waiting area, crying in the room, and I was also terrified that I was gonna have, like, a blood clot or something like that, that I was gonna just die. Like, my anxiety was, like, up to here, and I was just also spiraling after that. And he was like, "I think you should do it because it'll give you relief, like, you can do this, like, you're strong, you just gave birth to this baby, like, you can do it. You're just you just gotta believe you can do it." So I told the doctor I would do it.
It's really hard
And
in a small town too,
yeah.
where you don't have a lot of options about that. Like, if you'd have been Austin or something like that, you definitely could have had a different doctor. That would be the
Oh,
one
for
to
sure.
come in. Yeah, but in the small town that you're in, also, I remember when you were talking to the anesthesiologist ahead of time and asking him like, "Hey, I had
Mhm.
issues before. I really want to make sure, like, are you confident?" And I definitely would say it was an ego thing,
Yeah.
of why he tried so many times because he was like, "I am the best," and the nurses were like, "Yes, he is the best, and
Yes.
absolutely, I can always get it,"
Yes.
and there was a major ego factor along with that. So him poking you so many times and trying so many times did not have to do with him trying to help you. It had to do with him assuring everyone that he was the best at
That
it,
he
and
was
of
the best.
course he could get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that was the huge factor there, and then you had the consequences of that, and then what an awful thing to be like, "Yes, you're traumatized, yes, you were injured," and now the only person to fix the injury is the person who
Re-traumatize
caused
me.
it. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And
It's
even when
bringing
I
me
went
tears to my eyes just thinking about it, like, what an awful like,
Yes.
there's you can't make the situation different in that moment. Like,
No,
there's not an option. Like, you that is the option to make it better, but it's a horrible spot to place
to
you
put me
in, to have to be like, "I have to have the person who traumatized me and injured me so severely be the one that has the fix to make this better, and then I have to be in his presence again, and I have to go through this situation." That wow.
Yeah. And even when I went to do the procedure, because it was an in and out procedure, they didn't, like, have to admit me or anything. It was in and out, and they were like, "Oh, yeah." Even the nurses were like, "Oh, yeah, he's the best." And I was just sitting there like, "No, he's not. If he was the best, he would have listened to me after I asked him to stop, and he would have also apologized, right? Like, y I know you remember me because I was crying on the table and asked you to put me to sleep, and now I'm
Mhm.
back here not even a week later because of your mistake."
Yep.
Like, a good provider listens and does what's best for their, you know, patient, and, he wasn't that, and it was re-traumatizing, so much so that when we left the hospital, it worked. It worked. I say I was probably by the next day, it was 75% better.
Mm.
But on the drive home, I was still in tears because I was so terrified that I had to sit there and let him that he was in my presence and then I had to have him touch me. And I told my husband, "I don't even know if I wanna have another baby." And my husband, he's so sweet. He looked at me and said, "Well, if you don't want another baby, then I will get a vasectomy just for you, so you don't have to go through anything like that again." He took the pressure off of me and said, "Well, I will do this for you because I don't want you to have to go through something like that again if you don't want to." Like, so supportive, so caring, so validating of my experience that he was willing to do this for me. And it actually helped because I was like, "Oh, well, if I don't have to decide this now, you know, I'll be fine. Let me think about it." But the whole thing was just so traumatizing, and if I had knew that that was gonna happen, I probably would've just stuck it out at home because it was nothing compared to being in that hospital.
Yeah, you were in so much pain for so long.
Yeah, yeah,
It was just it was really hard to see,
yeah,
and I wasn't the one going through it, you know?
yeah,
Um, but and then to not be able to make it better for you.
mhm,
And, I know it was a lot. I know you went through a lot. Even with all of that, and then recovering from a C-section again. I mean, I remember, like, you couldn't even set up to nurse. You were trying to
yeah,
nurse laying down flat, because you were in so much pain, and the relief when you finally got to 75%, um,
mhm,
better, so that was great, but it still took time for the rest,
yeah.
um, to be able to go. How how was that postpartum?
Yeah, so that was it was hard for me, especially during the first week, and my husband was just an absolute champ. He was like, "I got the baby, don't worry about it, like, it's fine. If you want to pump, I can feed him a bottle. If you want me to lay him down next to you, you can nurse him. You just tell me what you want me to do." And I won't ever forget the first week because it was brutal, but he was so kind and caring that if I if I was alone, like, I couldn't imagine doing it by myself.
Hmm,
It was just even as traumatic as the hospital experience was, it was still okay because I had someone there to support me and be there for me and take care of me. And I think it still took a good 6 weeks for the rest of it to heal, if that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, but it was
yeah.
nothing compared to before.
Well, I'm so glad you had such a supportive partner is able to, really dig in with you and just, do everything he could to help mitigate, all that you were going through. And I'm sure that was
Yeah,
difficult for him as well to be able to, not help you being the difficult part, but seeing you in so much
right.
pain and seeing you
Yeah.
struggle and then trying to help as best as he could. I'm so glad that you had that. Do you feel like, because you had so much going on, not only were you feeling like, man, the fear thing and all of that then led to the spinal injury and the spinal headaches. So you're dealing with the recovery of the C-section, recovery from the spinal headache and the blood patch, plus into your normal postpartum ups and downs and hormones and all of that. Um, did you develop some pretty aggressive postpartum depression this time? How did you think that went?
No, I didn't actually. It was just the physical aspect and emotional trauma from the experience in the hospital, but no intrusive thoughts, no depression,
That's
no
beautiful.
anything like that. Yeah,
Do you think that really was because you had such a supportive partner this time? That you
absolutely.
really felt like night and day because he was able to help you and you're all those feelings and thoughts and everything that you may have even experienced a little bit, you say them out loud. You have a supportive partner that's able to help you with them, and then you're able to deal with them. And this cycle doesn't happen in your head where you say an intrusive thought and then you agree with yourself and then you get upset and speak shameful to yourself and then you have this intrusive thought and it's this terrible cycle. But when you have such a beautiful supportive partner, even if you say you did have a negative thought a little bit about the situation or about your postpartum, you say that out loud, that supportive partner is going to make all the difference in the world because they're going to listen to
Right.
you. They're going to validate your experience. They're going to validate your emotions. And then they're going to see how they can support you in that. And then it helps pull you out of that.
Yeah. I agree, absolutely.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so thankful that you came on the podcast to share your experience. I just know there's going to be some moms listening that just are going to gain so much, and so I do think that by sharing our journeys, that's how we encourage and lift one another up, and we learn. And it's a beautiful thing that we get to do, especially as women in this beautiful experience that we have. And so, is there any last parting words, anything that you want to say to the women listening?
I think the only thing I have to say is to believe in yourself and make
Mm.
sure you bring that positive energy into your birth space. Tara Menzies is right, and not do not watch the negative birth experiences. Do not watch, everything you should be afraid of. Bring the positive energy into your pregnancy, into your birth space, because that's what's going to help you. It's what you're going to focus on, and it's what's going to help you move through the birth journey that you absolutely want. If you focus on it, you're going to bring it to life.
Well, I think that is a great word about life in general as well.
Mhm.
So it's one
Yeah.
thing to think of this big event that, oh, I'm going to work on trusting my body and really
Mhm.
focus on the positive stuff and all of that. But if you put that into practice daily, then it's not
Exactly,
such a
yes.
big strain in that big moment. It's a natural thing for you. Like I already
Yeah,
trust my
because
body. That's when I
yes.
trust my body, like, I'm hungry and I'm gonna go eat some good
Mhm.
food. Again, I'm gonna give it some good fuel. That's
Yeah.
where I am starting to put too much on my plate for the day and I schedule too much in. And instead of pushing myself to go do it, I'm like, you know what? I know that's gonna be too much for me today. I'm gonna cancel something and I'm not gonna go. Or that's when you're in a conversation with somebody and they start speaking negatively about a person, a
Mhm.
situation, a birth experience, whatever. And you're like, you know what? I don't feel like that I am at a place where I can hear all that you're saying right now, so I'm gonna stop the conversation.
Yeah,
That's
boundaries, yeah.
you believing in yourself and you know, just putting like valuing yourself, valuing your experience and valuing, what you want to pour into yourself and how you
Mhm.
see yourself and being able to walk in confidence. That's a daily thing that we get to do, and so then when you have
Yeah.
those big moments, that's
Well,
natural for you. Like,
yeah,
"No,
it's
I
natural,
stand
it's
up
not
for
so hard.
myself." Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing, and I know that's something that you have learned a lot about yourself, and you've gained such, such experience that's very, um, bold in your experience. Like, it's highlighted, it's bold. And you've learned so much from it, and you've grown so much as a person. I know I'm the same way, there's so many things, but I feel like you have it's just you're such a beautiful soul, and I know you've taken those
Oh,
experiences and you've used them to really grow yourself and to, continue becoming that amazing woman that I know you are, walking in confidence and trusting herself and trusting her body, and that's such an important aspect as a mom and a wife and just a woman in general, like, it's a very beautiful thing to see.
oh, thank you.
Of course, absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for coming on the podcast.
Of
Really
course,
appreciate Yeah, I really appreciate you, Zamara, and,
of course.
listeners, if you're interested in, some of the different things that Zamara shared, please check out our show notes. I will list, the Faith-Filled Childbirth course in there that we talked about and a few other of the, resources for you, so thanks for listening. Thank you for listening. May you be encouraged and strengthened by what you've heard today. Remember, you are dearly loved by your Creator, so be who He created you to be. May you go in peace, friends. Till next time, Shalom.